Max Crosby and Myles Garrett, both on bad teams. And yet they're putting up some big numbers when it comes to tackles for loss. Welcome to Just the Stats, NFL Top 10's for Tuesday. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you enjoyed the Monday night game. It's a pretty good game. One comment here. My name's Ernie Jennings. Yesterday, I don't know what happened to my podcast. It looked like just watching it I use Riverside to edit it, and it looked like everything was fine. I'm putting in the charts and everything. And then when I post it, the only thing that shows up is when I'm in solo stat, not when you can see, like when the pictures come up, the only ones that are coming up is me in the corner when I switch to the mode where you can see the chart. So I do not know. I tried a couple of different ways to do it, and it still came out the same way. I'm hoping today will be different. Said something. I don't know what the problem was, honestly. I did everything the same way I do every podcast, so at least I thought I did. So we'll see what happens with this one. All right, we got a lot of games to get through. That Eagles-Chargers game was quite a game. I was kind of rooting for the Eagles because I didn't want to see the Chargers as they're in one of the teams in the playoff hunt with the Jaguars. So I was kind of looking for the Chargers to lose, but they won. Now, on the good hand with that is the fact that the Jaguars beat the Chargers handily, and then the Eagles lose to them. So, I know it's not a direct comparison, but it does say something about the talent of the Jaguars, maybe. All right. Other than that comment about the game, we'll talk about it in a minute, but let's get going, and we will talk about the Jaguars here. That's the first game to talk about. And in this game, Jaguars win it 36-19. In fact, Indianapolis got their last touchdown late in the game when it was pretty much wrapped up. But in this game, unfortunately for the Colts, Jones just terrible injury, just an unfortunate type of thing. He was just backing up to throw the ball, and he twisted his ankle the wrong way, and he was gone. And that was it for him. And and it for him, not for the game only, for the entire season. And he's going to be out a while with an Achilles tear. So, boy, the Colts, they're in dire straits now. Man, I mean, they have I believe it's the toughest schedule in these last 4 games. I mean, there's a very good chance they go from 7-1 to possibly as bad as 8-9. If they lose the rest of their games. What a flip. What a flip. I mean, just if you're a Colts fan, not what you were thinking was going to happen. But it's been rough for them. Now, for the Jaguars, they jump into first place alone. And now they're looking at Houston as a team to watch out for in their own division. We'll talk about divisions and standings later, probably tomorrow or Thursday. Now, in this game, Jonathan Taylor, Jaguars had not had a running back go over 70 yards. Now, he did that. He had 70, a little over 70, but he was held in check again by the Jaguars. And that's been their key to victory. They've beaten the Colts in Jacksonville for 10 years. But Jonathan Taylor, 21 carries, 74 yards, and he did have a touchdown. So less than 4 yards a carry. They really had him in check. And now in the game, Daniel Jones was 5 out of 7 for 60 yards, but 1 interception when he went out. And then Riley Leonard came in 18 for 29, 145 yards. He also threw an interception. Their quarterbacks were only sacked 1 time in the game. They had a couple of good players. Alec Pierce, 5 catches, 80 yards, and Michael Pittman, 9 catches, 79 yards. So, 79 yards isn't a lot when you have 9 catches for a wide receiver, and one of them was actually 24 yards. So, really kind of held him in check pretty decently. As far as the Jaguars go, Travis Etienne, very similar. slightly better. One less carry, 20 carries for 74 yards. Same amount of yards as Jonathan Taylor on one less carry, but still less than 4 yards a carry. But he did have 2 rushing touchdowns, and one was a nice 28-yard run that he had. The Jaguars ran it 32 times, only 103 yards, but 2 touchdowns. And often, like 3 of the carries were Nick Mullins just putting his knee down. That really hurts your stats. But also, just the idea that they had a big lead, the Jaguars did, and so they were going to run it. And so the Indianapolis expecting that pretty much. Now, Brian Thomas had a good game, 3 catches on 6 targets, 87 yards. Those are some beautiful passes. And now they're using him the way that is best for him. He stunk going across the middle, just didn't seem to want to do it very well, or didn't want to do it for whatever reason. And he's been out. He's healthy now, but also these catches were down the sideline, and that is where he excels. And now using him that way is great, because now you have Jacoby Myers, who is not, let me put it this way, who is willing to go across the middle and catch those types of passes, and Brenton Strange too. So really the receiving core is looking pretty good. This game didn't even have Parker Washington playing. But Brian Thomas, 3 for 87. Tim Patrick, 5 for 78 and 1 touchdown. He dropped a pass, but then he had a nice touchdown pass. Jacoby Myers, 4 for 39, 1 touchdown. Now, 10 targets for him. He did drop one as well. But the thing about this game, this was rain almost the entire time. So it wasn't kind of the conditions that are conducive to making it easy to catch a pass. But really, Trevor Lawrence had an awesome game, 17 for 30. So really, percentage-wise, still it's over 50%, but he needs to be more like at 70, 65 to 70. But 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, not sacked, was not even pressured. They could not get their hands even. The Indianapolis Colts defense never got close to Trevor Lawrence in this game, really. He did run as well 4 times for 16 yards, so that was impressive to see. All right, now in this game, Taylor needed 39 yards for this season to move into 9th place all-time in single-season rushing yards record for the Indianapolis Colts. Well, he got 74, which is actually good enough to bump him up past Marshall Faulk as well. He passed Eric Dickerson, great player there, and as well as Marshall Faulk, 2 Hall of Famers. He jumps over. So now Jonathan Taylor with 1,356 yards this season alone is the 8th best yardage for rushing yards for the Indianapolis Colts. Next up for him is passing his own number for number 7 of 1,431 yards, which he did last year. He's really been a great player for them. So he doesn't need that many yards even next week. Probably about, 75 to do it. And but they play a very difficult schedule. So, and now with a backup quarterback, it could be more difficult than I'm saying if every defense is going to key on Taylor now. Now, also in this game, he needed 1 rushing touchdown to move into a tie single season with Lenny Moore, who did it in 1964. So now with 1 extra touchdown, Jonathan Taylor now has 16 rushing touchdowns this season alone. He holds the record, which he set in 2021 with 18. So he only needs 2 more rushing touchdowns in the next 4 games to tie his record, 3 to break his own record. Pretty good player they have there. And unfortunate for them that their quarterback is out. It really very well could hinder their play, for them. Now, also for Indianapolis Colts, Michael Pittman needed 36 yards to move up in the career level. He was in 9th spot with 5,090 yards. He needed 79 No, he needed only 36. He got 79 yards, so he now has 5,169 yards to pass John Mackey. Mackey played in 1963 to 1971. He had over 5,000 yards, but Michael Pittman is now in 8th. And that's as far as he's going to get this year. He needs almost 700 more yards in the next 4 games to pass Bill Brooks. I tell you, these Colts have some names on here that, until you get back up to the top, these are some old players from the 50s and 60s on this list. But at the top are their 2 best players. These 2 were incredible. Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne played together for 7 years. They ended their careers with the Colts with a yardage separation of only 135 yards difference between the 2 of them. Wow. That's amazing, these 2 players. But anyway, so Pittman now in 8th place all time in receiving yards for the Indianapolis Colts. Also in this game for the Indianapolis Colts, they have 3 players. This is interesting to see. 3 players in the tackles for loss career-wise top 10. You got 3 players. Grover Stewart got 1 more. He has now 45. So he's tied for 5th with Raheem Brock, who played in the 2002 to 2009 with 45. Next up for him is Chad Bratsky, who played from 1999 to 2003. He's got 46, so only needs 1 more to catch him. And then next up for him is DeForest Buckner, who is with the team, has been injured, hasn't been able to play at all. Obviously, he would be the 4th player on this list of active players, but right now he hasn't played. So 4 players on the team currently in the top 10 all time for tackles for loss for the Colts. That's incredible. That says something about their defense, I guess. And they did have a good defense, and it would be much better. Boy, the Colts just aren't catching a break lately. I mean, they lost Sauce Gardner, who they had picked up, best defensive backfield player. DeForest Buckner's out, their best line player, and then now they lose their quarterback. I mean, it's just all downhill for them, unfortunately. Now for the Jaguars, Devin Lloyd, wow, what an interception right off the bat early in this game, picked off Jones. That was his 9th interception for the Jaguars. He's been on the team since 2022. He's now got 9 interceptions. That ties him for 6th with Jalen Ramsey and Telvin Smith. So he's really had a good career so far. He's really made a difference in that backfield for the Jaguars. Next up for him is Paul Posluszny, who played from 2011 to 2017. He's got 11. So a couple more, and very possible he could get him this season. We'll see. 2 more interceptions in 4 games. It's possible. And then one more stat here for this game. Had a lot of players. Little had 10 points. Cam Little made all his field goals, extra points, ended up with 10 points. He only needed 6 to pass Mercedes Lewis, who was on the team from 2006 to 2017. Cam Little now has 204 points, passing Mercedes Lewis, who had 200. So Cam Little is now 9th all-time in total points for the Jaguars. Next up for him is James Stewart, who was the running back with them in the late 90s, who had 228 points. He should catch him in 2 or 3 games, I would say. So Cam Little, been such an excellent pickup. Had set the NFL record, longest field goal earlier this year, 68 yards. All right, let's move on to the next game. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. And this was a game both teams really needed to win, and Pittsburgh was able to pull it out 27-22. It was a close game throughout. And honestly, Baltimore had a lot of chances, but instead of in the first half especially, instead of scoring touchdowns, they had to settle for field goals, and it really cost them. I mean, if they'd have been down by less than a field goal, they would have had a much better chance. But at the end of the game, they needed a touchdown. Couldn't do it. Aaron Rodgers in this game looked incredible. Very good game for him. 23 for 34, 284 yards, 1 touchdown. More passes downfield than I'd seen him throw in quite a while. He had a 52-yard pass to DK Metcalf, and then another, well, Jalen Warren ran most of this one, was 38 yards, but another 31-yarder to Calvin Austin. But just more passes downfield. DK Metcalf, who I had just booted to the curb, had a good game. 7 catches, 148 yards on 12 targets. Like I said, he had a 52-yarder in that. So really good game there all around for them, except when it came to the running game. Pittsburgh could not run the ball. Not that the Baltimore Ravens have that great of a defense, but they could not run the ball. Team-wise, 17 carries, 34 yards. That's 2 yards a carry. Did have 2 touchdowns, but one of them was Aaron Rodgers. It wasn't set to be a run, but he had to kind of scramble away and ran off to the left. No one was over there. He just ran it in. No one, not that he's a speedster, but he looked pretty good for 42 and ran it in for a touchdown. He hadn't had a touchdown in quite a while. Now for Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, 19 for 35, 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Didn't look too bad. Ran the ball 7 times, which is more than you've seen, for 43 yards and a touchdown. He hadn't run one in a touchdown since early in this year. Ran one in. So he looked a little better, but still just kind of convoluted. Derrick Henry ran it quite a few times, 25 times, in fact, for 94 yards. So just under 4 yards a carry. Team-wise, they ran it 40 times for 217 yards and a touchdown. That's good. That's 5 yards a carry. And, with that many carries, you would have thought they would win this game. When you rush for 200 yards and you don't win, interesting. But on offense, as far as receiving, it was Zay Flowers, 8 catches, 124 yards on 11 targets. No one else had more than 25 yards. So that just tells you it was all Zay Flowers in this game. Now, when we're looking at some of the stats in this game, for Pittsburgh, Highsmith in tackles for loss. Now, here's another team. 3 players for the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the top 10 in tackles for loss. That is now because Alex Highsmith was 11th, but he had 3 tackles for loss, which dumped him actually up to a tie for 9th, dropping Troy Polamalu off of this list of top 10 players. He's now gone, and now you have Jason Gilden and Alex Highsmith tied for 9th. Now, Alex Highsmith's been with the team since 2020. At the top of the Pittsburgh Steelers tackle for loss is Cam Hayward and TJ Watt. These guys Hayward has 138, and TJ Watt had 1 more tackle for loss, and this game's got 136, so he's 2 behind. Now, they started off this season, if I remember correctly, with Watt 7 tackles for loss behind Hayward. I thought he would have caught him by now, being that Cam Hayward's been around for quite a while, since 2011. But he's still 2 tackles for loss behind Cam Hayward. He might catch him by the end of the season, but those two Cam Hayward's been trying to hold on to the lead career-wise all time for the Pittsburgh Steelers in tackles for loss with 138, and TJ Watt's been trying to catch him, but he's still 2 behind with 136. Now, for the Baltimore Ravens, Zay Flowers, with all those receptions, he only needed 2 to move up the list. He got 8. So he now has 219 receptions for the Baltimore Ravens, which puts him into 7th place. He jumped over Torrey Smith, who played from 2011 to 2014. Now, next up for him is Dennis Pitts, who was with the team from 2010 to 2016 with 224. So Zay Flowers, with 219 receptions in his career with the Baltimore Ravens, is in 7th and only needs 5 more to catch Dennis Pitts, which I'm sure he'll do. Now, Mark Andrews, who has not been playing up to his contract that he just signed, had 1 catch in this game. It extends his all-time record of receptions with the Baltimore Ravens to 474. He passed Derek Mason not too long ago, who had 471. But Mark Andrews is number 1. Zay Flowers is now number 7. Man, you think they'd have a better record with some of these players they got on their team. You got Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, but it just shows hadn't been quite right with Lamar Jackson. All right, now also in this game, Zay Flowers needed 58 yards, and he got it. Actually, he needed 74 yards, but he got 124 yards in this game to move ahead of Travis Taylor. Again, Travis Taylor. So Zay Flowers now is in 8th spot all time with 2,808 yards receiving for the Baltimore Ravens. Next up is Quadre Ismail, who had 2,819. So he only needs 11 yards to pass him. So he'll definitely do that. Probably next game. I mean, we're talking 11 yards, so shouldn't be a problem. And Mark Andrews, like I said, had 1 catch, had 9 yards, and he also extends his leading receiving yards record with the Baltimore Ravens. He's in first with now 5,871 yards. The all-time receiver. Man, that's the only 5,000. We were just talking about the Ravens. Their top 2 have 14,000. What a difference. Even their third place guy had 9,000. That was, I forgot now, Tyler Lockett. That's who it was. So Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, both in the top 10 in yards and receptions. Now in this game as well, Isaiah Likely had been quite a while trying to break into the top 10 as far as receiving touchdowns. Well, he did get one this game. So he ties several players, Travis Taylor and Rashad Bateman, who earlier had gotten his 1 touchdown. They both have 15 along with Travis Taylor. So all 3 have 15 receiving touchdowns, which ties them for 10th. Now, next up for Bateman and Likely is Jermaine Lewis, who has 16. So that's what they're looking at. And Mark Andrews also leads this category for the Ravens with 56 receiving touchdowns. Big lead there over Todd Heap, who has 41. So now here you have 3 current Baltimore Ravens in the top 10 as far as receiving touchdowns go. All right. Now, in the category of all touchdowns, Lamar Jackson had been sitting forever with 34 touchdowns in his career with the Ravens. He finally got another rushing touchdown. And in the all touchdown categories, he ties now for 5th place all time Willis McGahee, who from 2007 to 2010 had 35 touchdowns for the Baltimore Ravens. So Lamar Jackson's tied for 5th there. Now on this list, Derrick Henry's in 8th. He's 1 behind Derek Mason. And Mark Andrews is 1st again. He's got a lot of firsts for the Baltimore Ravens. He's got 57 total touchdowns for the Baltimore Ravens. So they got 3 players here in the top 10. One thing it says, you got a lot of great players. That also says they've been around for a while, to have that, to rack up those types of stats. Then last one for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens is in total points. Again, he needed that 1 touchdown. He moves ahead again of Willis McGahee in total points. Lamar Jackson now has 212 total points to move into 8th place all time in total points for the Baltimore Ravens. Now in this category, Mark Andrews has 348, which is good enough for 3rd. Justin Tucker, who had some legal issues and hasn't played this year, is the number 1 all-time leader in total points for the Baltimore Ravens. All right. So like I said, Pittsburgh Steelers win this game 27-22 over the Baltimore Ravens. Next game up, Denver Broncos versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Now this game was closer than you might have thought, but Denver, again, as they've been doing, winning close games, wins this game 24-17. Las Vegas came back in the 4th quarter with 10 points to make it close, but still fell short. Now in this game for Las Vegas, Geno Smith got knocked out a while in this game. He was 13 for 21, 116 yards, 1 touchdown, sacked 3 times. Kenny Pickett came in, played actually quite well, 8 completions on 11 attempts for 97 yards and 1 touchdown. So actually pretty good numbers, better numbers really. Ashton Genty still, and every announcer talks about this, but 10 carries, 30 yards, and he rushed hard. He looked like he was, just working every inch he could get out of his carries, but man, he's just fighting people before he reaches the line of scrimmage. It's just rough for him. He also had 2 catches for 8 yards, so really not a good game at all there. Brock Bowers, 4 catches, 46 yards, did have a touchdown though. And really, he's the only player on this team that had any kind of good numbers. Looking at Denver, Bo Nix, 31 completions on 38 attempts, which is excellent as far as percentage goes, but only 212 yards passing on 31 attempts. So not too many yards per attempt. In fact, the longest pass he had was 18 yards. No, I'm sorry about that. That's not true. It was only 15 yards. Wow, nothing downfield. Cortland Sutton had 6 catches for 62 yards. His long was 14. RJ Harvey, 6 catches for 25 yards, as well as 17 carries for 75 yards and a touchdown. So pretty good game for him. So he's totaling out with 100 yards total on 23 touches. So not too bad. Not getting a lot of yardage on the catches, but still, he's getting used quite well. Bo Nix had 3 carries for 15 yards and a touchdown as well. Now in this game for the Denver Broncos in the passing yards, already Bo Nix has now jumped into 10th place all time, knocking out Russell Wilson, who had been in 10th spot. So now you've got Bo Nix in 10th with 6,729 yards. He's going to be moving up this list because he's not going anywhere with the Denver Broncos. Next up for him is Charlie Johnson, who played in the 70s. He's got over 7,200 yards, so only needs 500 yards to catch him. And he'll do that some point this season, I'm sure. It's going to take 2 to 3 games, but with 4 left, he should move up maybe 1-2 more spots this year. Bo Nix he's looked good. And then he looks like he's a young quarterback, but I guess that's what you can expect from such a young player. But in their system, as long as he listens to their coach, and does what he says, I think he's got a good chance of being successful. Now in this game, Cortland Sutton, who'd kind of been off his game a little bit, did have 62 yards receiving, and he needed 61 to move ahead of Steve Watson for 6th place all time in receiving yards for the Denver Broncos. He got 62, 1 extra yard, so he's now got 6,013 yards to pass Steve Watson for 6th place all time for the Denver Broncos in receiving yards. Next up for him is Ed McCaffrey, who played from 1995 to 2003, who had 6,200 yards exactly. So he needs 87 in his next game, and he'll catch him. All right, now for the Raiders, I should say, Geno Smith. This is just this season, and it's probably a good thing he got out of the game a little bit because he's moving up this list in quarterback being sacked. He came into this game with 46 sacks, which was 4th. Got 3 more. He's now tied with Rich Gannon with 49 sacks this season for the Las Vegas Raiders, which is good enough for 3rd. Only needs 2 more to catch Derek Carr and 9 more to catch Jeff George. Now, if he plays, I think he's got a good chance. I don't know how badly, he was banged up, and we'll have to see. But right now, he's definitely on a pace to lead the Raiders all time in quarterback sacks, which is not what any quarterback wants to do. All right, one more stat here, and this is one of your just great players for the Raiders on such a bad team, and that's Max Crosby. He was tied going into this game for tackles for loss, most tackles for loss for the Las Vegas Raiders all time. He had tied his own record, which he set 2 years ago, with 23. Him and Khalil Mack, who did it in 2015, they both had 23 tackles for loss in a season. Well, now he's got 25. He had 2 more tackles for loss. He's got 25 tackles for loss. Max Crosby now has 5 of the top 10 seasons of tackles for loss, 5 of the top 10 spots, all-time tackles for loss leaders. And he's got the number 1, number 2, 4, 5, and 6 spots. He's been bumping Khalil Mack down, who's a great player, but bumping them off the list. Man, and with 25 tackles for loss, that puts him in the top 10 now, tied for 9th all-time in the NFL for tackles for loss in a single season. That would make him somebody you want to consider for a defensive player of the year if it wasn't for the fact that Myles Garrett's even having a better year than Max Crosby. Myles Garrett is now in 2nd place all-time in tackles for loss with 31. It's really amazing when you think about it. This goes back to 2012 when J.J. Watt set the record with 39. In that same year, that was with the Texans. In that same year, Von Miller with the Broncos had 28 tackles for loss. It's that type of a thing where you've got 2 players. There's no other season where you've got 2 players in the same season making it into the top 10. But that's what it's like way back in 2012, 13 years ago, when 2 players were doing the same type of a thing. Just great players. And Max Crosby and Myles Garrett, both on bad teams. And yet they're putting up some big numbers when it comes to tackles for loss. All right, next game up. Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. Man, that game, he's like a surgeon. Man, he was just picking Arizona apart. He went 22 for 31, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns. Could have had more, obviously. They scored 45 points. They had this game wrapped up at halftime. It was 24-10. By the end of the 3rd quarter, they had tacked on another 14 points. And really, there was no need for him to even push it any harder. But he had 281 yards, another 3 touchdowns. He's just been incredible there. In the rushing department, Blake Corum actually outran, as far as yardage goes, Kyron Williams. But that's because he had a 48-yarder. And also, he just got in the game a little bit more in the second half with the big lead. But Blake Corum had 12 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams had a good game, 13 carries for 84 yards and 1 touchdown. So as a team, they ran the ball 36 times for 249 yards. You tack on 281 yards passing. We're talking about, 530 yards of offense against the Arizona Cardinals, whose defense is not considered one of the worst defenses either. But he just was picking them apart. And Puka Nacua, 7 catches, 167 yards, and 2 touchdowns, was making some incredible catches in this game. Now, Devontae Adams had his streak broken. No touchdowns for him. He had 4 catches on 29 yards, so not too much there. Really, it was just Puka Nacua was the big guy in this game. For Arizona, Jacoby Brissett, 25 for 44, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, sacked 3 times. Now, bad thing for them is he led the team in rushing as well with 22 yards. They just have nobody to run the ball. 14 carries, 51 yards in this game. They were passing it pretty much the entire game. And Michael Wilson has been such a impressive add to their team ever since Harrison's been out. 11 catches in this game for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns, targeted 16 times. Trey McBride, 5 catches, 58 yards, 9 targets. So those 2 players really had 16 of the 25 catches in this game for Arizona. Now, in this game for the Rams, like I said, Matthew Stafford had 3 more touchdowns. He was tied with Jared Goff for 4th. He's still in 4th, but he's all by himself. He's got 35. Kurt Warner's next for him with 36. He only needs 1 more touchdown pass He's on pace to break his record that he set in 2021 of 41 touchdown passes and as well as Kurt Warner, who at 1999 had 41. He only needs 6 more to catch them. 4 games to get 6 touchdown passes. I think he can do it since he's averaging over 2 a game right now. In fact, he's almost averaging 3 a game, just 1 short of 3 a game. So he shouldn't have a problem breaking his own record at this pace. Man, in this game, he could have had more. If this game was tighter, he might have thrown for even more passes, more touchdown passes. But, 3 a game is impressive. Now, in this game, Puka Nacua needed only 6 yards to, well, let's look at his receptions for it. He needed 6 receptions, I should say, actually. He got 7, so he just got enough to move from 19th spot in this season alone, 2025 season, to move on to the top 10 in receptions for the Los Angeles Rams. He moved into tie for actually 8th spot, dropping Cooper Kupp off of the top 10. Now, Puka Nacua was in 19th spot. That's how packed it was from 19th to 10th. And he got those 7 receptions, so he moves from 19th to actually a tie for 8th. With 93 receptions this season. So only needs 7 more to break the 100 mark. He's not on a pace to break Cooper Kupp's record, which he set in 2021 of 145. That's incredible. He is on a pace to break his own record, which is 105. And, he could have even done better, but he missed a game. I don't even know if it was more than 1. It might have been even 2 games, with injury. Man, he would have been doing even better. Him and Stafford just are they're so in sync. Now, for the running backs for the Rams, Williams needed 43 yards. He got 84. He now moves into 7th place all-time in rushing yards for the Los Angeles Rams, passing Dan Towler, who played in the 50s, way back in the 50s. So Kyren Williams now has 3,534 rushing yards to be in 7th place all time for the Rams. Next up for him, which he won't even get this year, maybe not even next year, is Todd Gurley, who has over 5,400 yards. So he's still 1,900 yards behind that number. That was going to be a while for him. Now, he also got a rushing touchdown, Kyren Williams did, which gives him now 34 for the Rams in his career, which moves him into a tie for 6th place all time with Dick Bass, who played in the 60s. So they both have 34 rushing touchdowns. He passed Wendell Tyler, who played from 77 to 82, at 33. So he broke into the top 10 in this category. Now he's up to 6th. I don't think he goes beyond this because Dan Towler, who he passed in yardage, has 43 rushing touchdowns. He needs 9 more in 4 games. That's pretty doubtful that happens. So probably next season before he can catch him. Okay, let's move on. I got the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. In this game, I don't know why. I'll run through this real quickly. But the Green Bay Packers, this was a big game. This changed. When we look at the standings in the playoffs, this just changed everything. The Bears went into this game in first place. They come out of it, dropping out of first place, and Green Bay is now in first place. And we'll talk more about it, but they're now in the playoff. They're a wild card team, and they're not even guaranteed that. That's how tight this is. And same in the AFC as far as who's going to be in the playoffs. It's really tight with only 4 games to go. But in this game, Caleb Williams, 19 for 35, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. As a team, they've been splitting carries between Swift and Monange. 13 carries for Swift for 63 yards, 14 carries for Monange for 57 yards. So pretty close there. Actually, a little bit better for Swift. They ran the ball 32 times for 138 yards. Nobody in the receiving department. Luther Burden, 4 catches for 67 yards. That was the best. And Colston Loveland had 4 catches for 29 yards, but he did have a touchdown. Nobody had more than 4 catches. Nobody had more than 6 targets. Now for Green Bay, Jordan Love, only had 17 completions for 25 yards, but 234 yards. 17 completions on 25 attempts, I should say, for 234 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 terrible interception. But other than that, he looked pretty good. Josh Jacobs, 20 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown in this game. Big game for him. Pretty decent yardage there. Now in this game, no one for Green Bay, and this is why in fantasy I don't pick any Chicago Bears receivers either, or Green Bay receivers, because you just don't know who's going to catch them. But Christian Watson did have 4 catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. So if you played him, good for you. 4 catches on only 4 targets. No one had more than 4 targets for Green Bay. I mean, 8 different receivers in this game with none more than 4. He threw the ball to 10 different players, but 2 of them did not catch their passes. Like their number 1 pick, Matthew Golden, 1 target, no catches. And Romeo Doubs is supposed to be another one of their better breakout players, 0 catches on 2 targets. So I don't know. I guess it does make it hard for defense. Not if you're not talking fantasy, it does make it difficult to know who's going to catch a pass for that team. Now in this game, Josh Jacobs did have a rushing touchdown, which bumps him up to 16 this season. So he's moving up the ranks there. I don't have the chart for that for some reason. But I'll talk about it at another time. All right, that's that game. Green Bay winning at 28-21. Now, here's another big game. Houston Texans visiting Kansas City. Both teams needed this win, especially Kansas City, because they're bordering on not making the playoffs. With a loss here, they've already knocked themselves out of the chance to win their division anymore. They cannot win the division, but Kansas City loses this game 20-10. Houston just shut them down. 10 points for Kansas City. It was 10-0, Houston winning it at the half. And then Kansas City came back in the third quarter, tied up 10-10. So it was very close, but Houston came away winning at 20-10. Now in this game, C.J. Stroud didn't have a good game, really. 15 completions on 31 attempts, so less than 50%. For 203 yards, 1 touchdown. No interceptions, though. Woody Marks carried the ball a lot, got 68 yards, 26 carries, 68 yards, so not good there. 3 yards a carry, not even that. But it did what they needed to do, was control the tempo. As a team, 31 carries, 82 yards, so less than 3 yards a carry, and 1 touchdown. Now, Nico Collins, 4 catches, 121 yards. That was big on 8 targets. No one else had more than 4 catches, so only 15 completions in the game. Woody Marks had 2 catches for 8 yards and did have the touchdown catch, so he ended up with a total of 76 yards in this game on 28 touches, and including in that 1 touchdown. Now for Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes was even worse than Stroud. 14 completions on 33 attempts, so well under 50%, 160 yards, and 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions. That hadn't happened in a long time for Mahomes to have that many interceptions. The bad thing for them, as it was for, I believe I was saying the Raiders, no, maybe the Raiders or Arizona Cardinals it was. Arizona Cardinals. Patrick Mahomes led the Chiefs in rushing as well with 59 yards on 7 carries. Kareem Hunt had 12 carries for 30 yards. Isaiah Pacheco, 9 carries for 30 yards. So it was Patrick Mahomes scrambling, doing what he could do, but no touchdown passes, 3 interceptions. It was just not a good game. And they only had the 1 touchdown, which was by Kareem Hunt. Receiving-wise, no one had more than 4 catches. Rashee Rice had 4 catches for 34 yards in this game. That's it. Just total of 274 yards of offense for Kansas City. I mean, Houston defense is for real, and they're tough. And they showed it in this game. Now, in this game, for Houston, in receptions, Dalton Schultz needed 1 reception. He got 3. He was tied with Jabbar Gaffney for 10th, actually for 9th. He's now in 9th all by himself with 174 receptions for the Houston Texans. Another number, Nico Collins has been moving up this list. He needed 58 yards receiving to move into 4th place all time in receiving yards for the Houston Texans. Well, he got 121. He now has 4,146 yards to pass Kevin Walter, who played from 2006 to 2012. That's probably as far as he's going to get, because next up for him is Owen Daniels, who had over 4,600 yards. So he needs 500 more yards to catch him. That's going to probably be another early next season as far as that goes. Now in this game, Houston Texans, credit to their defense, they've got 2 players in the top 10 in interceptions for the Houston Texans all time. Derek Stingley, who's been getting some, who is now in 3rd with 14 interceptions. Well, Jalen Petrie had another interception. Both of these players started in 2022 for the Houston Texans. Petrie has another interception. He's got 10, and Stingley has 14. Man, that makes it difficult when you've got 2 players that are have a good chances of intercepting their passes. Man, they got Stingley and Petrie, and then you've got Anderson and Hunter on the line. Really a very exceptional defense for them. But anyway, that puts Petrie now into a tie for 8th place all time, with actually 8th place all by himself with 10. Next up for him is Aaron Glenn, who has 11, as well as Marcus Coleman. They both have 11 interceptions. So that's next up for him in the interception department. And I was mentioning Will Anderson. He needed a tackle for loss. He got one. He was one behind Brian Cushing, who played from 2009 to 2017. So Will Anderson, with one more tackle for loss, now has 42 tackles for loss for the Houston Texans to move into a tie for 6th all-time for that team. Next up is D'Amico Ryans, who had 43. So one more he needs, and he'll move into 5th place as far as that goes. Now, for the Kansas City Chiefs, in the negative category, Patrick Mahomes needed 2 interceptions to tie Mike Livingston all-time for the Kansas City Chiefs in being intercepted. He got 3, so he's now 4th all-time in interceptions with 84. So Patrick Mahomes, 84 interceptions, which is good enough to be 4th all-time for the Kansas City Chiefs as far as that goes. Next up for him is Trent Green and Bill Kenny. Trent Green has 85. Bill Kenny has 86. But he's miles away. We'll never probably catch Len Dawson, who has 178. But he's definitely going to move into 2nd. But, that's what happens when you've been on a team for that long. You're going to set records, even negative records. Okay, one more game here. Philadelphia Eagles at the Chargers. Wow, that game was a pretty good game. Not pretty good. It was a fun game to watch. Chargers win this game 22-19 over the Eagles. They both came into the game 8-4. And for the Eagles, it's not such a, obviously you hate to lose. And they lost in overtime. This was how close it was, 22-19. And in fact, Chargers scored a field goal. Eagles came down all the way down, intercepted near the goal line to stop their chance even for a field goal. And that's how close this game was, the entire game. But Eagles have some wiggle room. They have wiggle room in their division, whereas the Chargers don't. They really needed the win, and they got it. Now, in this game, Jalen Hurts, 21 completions on 40 attempts for 240 yards, but 4 interceptions. He had 2, I think it was, going into the game in the entire season. Got 4 in this one game. This is why they still only lost by 3 points. 4 interceptions. That's just stopping you 4 different times, and they still came up only 3 points short. That's because they sacked Justin Herbert. So they intercepted Herbert once, sacked him 7 times. So they were stopping them pretty good as well, their defense. Saquon Barkley had a big game. 20 carries, 122 yards, and 1 touchdown, had a 52-yard run in this game. So really had on the 19 carries then for 71 yards. Still not too bad, but it's been a while since you've seen him take off for 52 yards. Quite a long while. For the Rams, here's another quarterback led their team in rushing. And that's Justin Herbert with a broken hand. 10 carries, 66 yards. Mario Hampton, 13 carries, 56 yards. Kamani Vidal, 14 carries, 44 yards. So they all did fairly well. As a team, 38 carries, 169 yards. That's 4 yards a carry. Really, that controlled the game as well for them. So very, very close game. And honestly, minus all these interceptions that Hurts threw, the Eagles still made it close. All right, now in this game, Hurts was sacked Hurts was sacked one time, which is all it took to put him into tie with Carson Wentz for fifth all-time with the Philadelphia Eagles in sacks with 179 times. Now, next up for him is Norm Snead, who played from 64 to 70. He has 181. So 2 more sacks, and he'll be tied for fourth. Probably get that. That'll be it for a long time for him. Because next up would be Ron Jaworski with 344. So he won't be seeing that anytime in the near future. Probably never. I don't even know, I say that because I'm not sure if Hurts stays with the Eagles or what happens with them, their situation in long term. Now, also in this game, when it comes to sacks, Justin Herbert, he only needed 1 sack. Well, he got sacked 7 times. This is just this season alone. This is a record for this season. Went into this game tied for 6th with Phillip Rivers and himself with 38 sacks in the single season. With 7 more, he jumps all the way up to 2nd, passing himself, people like John Hadel, Phillip Rivers, Dan Fouts. So he's now in 2nd all-time in sacks with 45 times being sacked this season. Phillip Rivers holds the record with 49. Now, with 4 games to go and only needing 4 sacks, pretty much a lock that he's going to pass Phillip Rivers and become the all-time quarterback to be sacked in a single season. Should not be a problem. Probably does it next week. They have a difficult schedule as well. But wow, that you don't want to be sacked that many times. All right, that's a wrap. This was a long episode, but I wanted to get all the games in. Sorry it took that long. Try to keep it to 30, but there's just no way. As we get late in the season with all these season stats and career stats, NFL records that are being set and met, it's really a fun time to see how some of these current players are doing against the all-time greats from their team or from the NFL. All right, what I may have to do is break it up into 3 days and cover these games over a 3-day period. Probably what I'll do starting next week. All right, well, that is a wrap. You can like and subscribe to this podcast on YouTube at Just the Stats NFL. Appreciate you listening. Please subscribe. Thank you to my latest subscriber for subscribing. And leave your comments if you'd like. Any comments, I'll try to answer them when I can. Hopefully I get this podcast out, and when I go to the editing next here, that it edits properly and it's got the charts and everything posted. You can also just listen to this podcast, though, on Apple, Spotify, or even on whatever app you use, including YouTube. Again, thanks for listening. And that's a wrap for NFL Top 10s for Tuesday. So I'm out till tomorrow. See you then.